Charles Holland, a British cyclist, was born on September 20th, 1908 in Aldridge, Staffordshire. Charles Holland started cycling in the 1920s and quickly rose to prominence for his talent. Charles Holland competed for Britain in the 1932 Los Angeles Olympics, marking a milestone for UK cycling. In 1937, Charles Holland became one of the first British cyclists in the Tour de France. Charles Holland won British cycling championship titles and competed in numerous European road races.
Competitor's medallion here. And this is obviously his badge with his competitor's number on that.
By the 1930s, Holland was a leading British cyclist known for his endurance and speed. Holland is honoured for pioneering efforts that broke ground for British cyclists in Europe. Holland's contributions to the Olympics and Tour de France made him a key figure in British cycling. His legacy shone brightly, and the appraiser valued the item.
Is worth 15 to 20,000.
Wow.
No!
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
His wife received it after her grandmother passed away. The 18th century Chinese jade belt hook reflects Qing dynasty aesthetics and culture. Belt hooks, or daigo, fastened elite robes and symbolized status with intricate designs.
Have a fabric loop that would go over the head of the dragon and another loop over the back, and you would take this loop on and off as you put your belt back on.
Jade was valued in Chinese culture for its purity, immortality, and moral integrity. Jade belt hooks often featured dragons, tigers, or phoenixes. Jade carving flourished in the Qing dynasty under the Qianlong Emperor's patronage. The dragon symbolized imperial power and good fortune, enhancing the belt hook's significance. Smooth lines and intricate details make these items masterpieces of jade craftsmanship. 18th century Chinese jade belt hooks are prized for their beauty and cultural significance. Its intricate design impressed the appraiser, who valued the item.
If I told you it was worth about $1,000,
That's great. Love it.
that's what it is. It's a very nice example, beautifully carved.
A pair of flintlock pistols that have been kept in a family for generations is brought in for appraisal. They originally belonged to William Colfax, who is pictured in the miniature portrait on top of the pistols. William Colfax served as the captain of George Washington's Life Guard, or Commander-in-Chief's Guard, beginning from March 1778 to September 1783.
Were given to William Colfax by General Washington. I'm not sure exactly at what point, if it was at the close of the war or not.
George Washington's Life Guard was an elite corps of bodyguards that protected George Washington during the Revolutionary War. So these pistols were given to Lieutenant Colfax by General Washington, perhaps after the war, for meritorious service. This pair of pistols is Queen Anne flintlock style Continental for 1770 to 1780. They are inlaid with German silver and have German grotesque silver heads. The most interesting part is that they were gifts from General Washington to Lieutenant Colfax.
The appraisal of the miniature with your brother Skip for $50,000 to $70,000.
For the miniature portrait of Colfax, it would sell at auction for $50,000 to $70,000, but the pistols only will bring about
Are worth about $5,000 in and of by themselves.
It's amazing.
Inherited from his parents, this guest brought two vases made by a Hungarian company called Zolnai. The Zolnai factory was established in 1853 by Miklos Zolnai in Pécs, Hungary. 10 years later, his son Vilmos Zolnai joined the company as the director, and he led the company to worldwide recognition.
She ended up in Paris, or near Paris, during the war.
Their earlier products from the 1850s to the 1880s didn't look like these ones, but by the 1890s they started experimenting with new colors and glazing.
To go to Paris?
I think probably before.
Okay, well if she left before, then it might make more sense.
The blue vase has a raised mark with a castle, and it says Zolnai Pécs. Zolnai stopped using this mark around the 1920s. It also has an impressed number, 5650, which is a form number that was used between 1900 and 1958.
The other vase has a mark, which is a similar mark, but it's flat. It has an impressed number, which seems to say...
The red vase has a similar mark, but it's flat. It has the impressed number 3939, dating it between 1891 and 1895. Looking at the blue vase, it looks French because a French theme was used for its decorations called a crystalline glaze. The crystalline glaze was a new innovation in terms of technology in pottery and porcelain. For the top rim, it is raised gilding, which is an expensive technique with an Egyptian influence to it.
Influence in it. The other one has a completely different look. It's kind of a combination of kind of Islamic.
However, the red one has a different look, kind of Islamic-inspired but English design. Although the blue vase is rare, it is not desirable by journey collectors, so its value at retail would be $2,000 to $3,000.
One might be in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. The red one, however, is almost classic.
The red vase is a classic journey design and highly desirable, hence a retail value would be $3,000 to $5,000, bringing the group to a total value of.
So together we're looking at between $5,000 and $8,000.
Wow, that exceeds my expectations greatly. It is a true connection to my Hungarian ancestors. It's a life that's gone forever.
2 trophies presented to the first Miss America, Margaret Gorman, are brought to the show. Margaret Gorman was an American model and beauty queen who won the first Miss America beauty pageant after being crowned Miss District of Columbia in 1921 at age 16. The larger trophy was given in 1921, and the smaller one was presented in 1923.
Presented the larger trophy in 1921, and then the smaller one in 1923.
Trophies for Miss America have come up for sale, but the first Miss America trophies have never been seen. The first Miss America beauty pageant was in 1921, though it wasn't called Miss America pageant. On the smaller trophy, it shows that it was from the 1923 contest, but Margaret was called out as Miss America in 1921.
But they've actually called out Miss America 1921, so they presented her with something to have the title of Miss America.
Interestingly, the pageant that started out as a bathing beauty contest in 1921 celebrated the 100th anniversary of Miss America in 2021, and the pageant has evolved into so much more, as the winner represents the organization and has to perform an extraordinary number of humanitarian duties.
They help causes, they're really activists, and it's no longer simply about beauty.
The 1921 trophy is marked. Both trophies are silver-plated, which means their value is in what they actually represent. There's some damage on the large one, as the top attached with a pierced metal design has come off, though it sits on the rim well. At auction, the small trophy from 1923 would sell for $1,800 to $2,000, while the large one, even with the damage, would sell for at least
Pretty important, and despite the fact that there's some damage to it and it's lived a life, we would expect this one to be at least in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Brought in is a Japanese Kuazon vase produced by a company called Ando. At the base of the vase is the Ando mark, which is a 4-arrow star with a circle. The Ando Kuazon Company is one of the few traditional Kuazon companies still left in Japan. They produced magnificent Kuazon works during the Meiji period, but as they went into the 20th century, the quality of the works diminished.
Period into 1920, 1930. It has wonderful silver mounts.
So this one was made around the Meiji period, going into 1920 or 1930. The foot and rim has wonderful silver mounts and sky blue background of Kuazon.
Bruising to the foot, and cloisonne is an enamel, so it damages easily.
Surprisingly, it is rare to find a 100-year-old Japanese Kuazon in such fine condition, because Kuazon is an enamel that damages easily. It is made with a low to medium relief technique, as we see on the shoulder where the leaves are raised. If it was just a simple wire work, it would be worth around $800 to $1,200, but with the raised low relief enamel, a reasonable auction estimate would be.
Low relief enamel at auction, I would give it an estimate of $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Colloquially called Princess Cup, this beautifully decorated piece is brought in for appraisal. It is known as zarf, an unusual sounding word that comes from the Arabic word for envelope.
The thing with this being a cup, of course, is that it has lots of holes in it.
Yes, that's problematic.
It's known as a zarf. That's spelled Z-A-R-F. It's a very unusual sounding word, but it's actually coming from the Arabic for envelope.
The piece definitely cannot work as a cup because of the holes in it, so it's used to support a coffee cup without a handle. Hence, it's essentially a coffee glass holder. Coffee was introduced in Istanbul, Turkey in the mid-16th century, and this was made towards the end of the 19th century during the Ottoman Empire. It is called an Ottoman zarf because of its origin. The Ottoman Empire spread across the Near East, incorporating Syria, part of Iran and Iraq until it fell in the 1920s. This piece is made of 18-karat gold. It's enameled and has a profusion of old mine-cut diamonds.
Beautiful and handsomely crafted. The reason being is that just with tea and with other drinking cultures across the world,
for a coffee cup, it is exceptionally crafted, because just as tea and other drinking cultures in the world, coffee was seen as something imbued with a lot of ceremony in Ottoman Turkey and Iran. So the receptacles to hold the drink were lavishly done, and it was usually made for people of high status. These coffee holders were also given as gifts to various courts as well as high-ranking individuals. At auction, this piece would be worth around
between $3,000 and $5,000.
Wow. Wow. I'm really surprised, and Pat would be so happy.
The guest brought in a collection of boxing cards he inherited from his father. They are T9 Turkey red boxing cabinet cards from 1910 to 1911 and are usually a set of 26 cards. But only 21 cards are presented. T9 Turkey red boxing cabinet cards were introduced by the American Tobacco Company in 1910. Basically, people got the cards by getting a coupon in every pack of Turkey Reds.
These cards. So what we have here are T9 Turkey red cabinet cards.
And once you had enough coupons, you could send them to the company, which allows you to check off which boxer you wanted. Interestingly, this set has the best boxers of that era, including Abe Attle, called the Little Champ. He was only 5'3" tall and had a 6-year consecutive reign as world featherweight champion from 1906 to 1912. Attle is also one of the central figures in the 1919 World Series, the Black Sox scandal. There is also Sam Langford, a great early champion of the 20th century, called The Greatest Fighter That Nobody Knows by ESPN. Also Stanley Ketchel, who was one of the greatest middleweight champions in history. He defeated Jack Johnson, but was murdered in 2010. We have Jim Jeffries, the heavyweight champion of the world, and the most important is Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, nicknamed the Galveston Giant, became the first black world heavyweight boxing champion, and his 1910 fight against James Jeffries was dubbed the fight of the century. These cards were meant to be displayed, so they had tapes and/or pinholes to the corners, but the vibrancy of the color lithography is good. This set is very collectible today because of the great boxers and the visual beauty of the cards. Hence, an auction estimate would be...
Is it at somewhere in the $1,000 to $1,500 range?
Oh, really?
Yeah, in this condition. Very cool. Great collection.
Well, thanks for the information.
Acquired at an auction in Michigan about 20 years ago, an old fountain is brought in for appraisal. It is almost a scientific instrument, made by James W. Tufts in Boston. The instrument is known as an automatic crystal fountain with cranberry glass, and dated to 1884.
And it's an amazing item. Can you tell us how it works?
Well, what happens, it's like an hourglass. You fill the top tray up with water, you fill the bottom piece with water, and then you flip it over.
James W. Tufts commercialized this instrument in the US as a novel product released by his company, Arctic Soda Apparatus of Boston, Massachusetts. It operates like an hourglass. When the top tray is filled with water, a mere inversion of the globes will result in an 8-inch fountain-type spray of water. This spray of water lasts for about 20 minutes, and then the globes can be flipped again to start the process for another 20 minutes. It is a wonderful machine, and because of the interest in science and technology today, a fair estimate for this machine would be...
Technology today, because of the interest in cranberry glass,
Yeah.
I would say it's a $3,000 item.
Great, wow.
Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
Purchased for a mere $35, here is a lovely romantic painting by an artist named Vincent G. Stipovich. There's a plaque at the bottom, and it is signed in the upper corner, though faint. For an artist who painted such lovely paintings, Stipovich has very scanty biographical information. Stipovich was born in Russia around 1840 and died in New York City in 1910.
She said that it was given to her when she got married, and she wanted us to have it, just $35.
He was clearly a well-trained realist artist who practiced portrait, figure, and genre painting. A favorite subject of his was the Orientalist harem scenes. Orientalists were popular for the second half of the 19th century and had great interest in the Middle East, and even painted subjects from there.
Orientalism?
No.
The Orientalists were
popular for most of the second half of the 19th century.
There was a big market for these paintings in America because they were fascinating, and they are still collectible. This painting showcases a woman, probably a Western woman, set in an exotic harem scene.
Traveled to the Middle East and began to paint these subjects, and there was a big market for them when they brought them home because the public was kind of fascinated by this too.
Also, the frame is appropriate, adding to the beauty of the painting. Today, a fair auction estimate for this painting would be between
A very fair auction estimate on this painting would be between $15,000 and $20,000.
Wow. Boy, oh boy. 15 to 20.
15 to 20.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
A fascinating collection of rare iconic medals holds a captivating history. The collection originally belonged to a man's father, who had a keen eye for such treasures. Among the collection is a Battle of Waterloo medal, the first ever issued by British forces. Lord Wellington insisted that all soldiers, regardless of rank, receive the same medal. Even 10-year-old drummer boys on the battlefield received this medal. Each medal is engraved with the recipient's name and regiment, a first in British military history. Another standout item is the Military General Service Medal with 4 clasps: Pyrenees, Nivelles, Nives, and Toulouse. This medal concept, invented by Queen Victoria in 1847, only went to surviving soldiers.
This concept of a general service medal, so one medal with different clasps telling you which battles the man was in.
A rare King's German Legion medal from the Battle of Waterloo also adds prestige to the collection.
And this one is a famous regiment from the Battle of Waterloo. This is the King's German Legion, and they are German troops.
Waterloo medals like these are typically only seen in regimental museums. The estimated value of the collection is around £12,000. The current owner humorously imagines its worth rising to £40,000 one day for his young grandson. The conversation revolves around an original handwritten script from a Dad's Army episode, which captivates the collector. They acquired it in the mid-1990s during a work placement at the BBC's comedy department.
Well, I acquired it back in the mid-90s. I had a work placement at the BBC attached to the comedy department. Did the week with David Croft's office. Wrote to David to thank him.
Where they spent a week with David Croft's office. After the placement, Croft sent the collector the script as a thank you gift. The script, titled Sergeant Saved My Boy, showcases Croft's initial thoughts and ideas, which the collector finds remarkable.
Thank you for your letter. I'm enclosing a manuscript of a Dad's Army programme. Unfortunately, the first page is missing.
Yes.
Clumsy.
Yes.
Clumsy.
They highlight the authenticity of the manuscript, appreciating its raw, unedited form, where all the creative processes are laid bare. The script features iconic catchphrases, including the memorable line, "Stupid boy," emphasizing its connection to the beloved series. They remark on the rarity of such original documents, noting that most scripts would have been typed and distributed to the cast, while this handwritten version was likely discarded. The expert estimates it could be worth between £5,000 and £10,000.
Golden piece of Dad's Army. This is where the heart of Dad's Army is. So congratulations.
Wow.
The guest shared inherited pieces of furniture that had been acquired by her grandparents. Among these items was a photograph of Einstein sitting on one of the family's chairs with his famous pipe on a nearby table. The guest explained that Einstein had stayed at their grandparents' house in Glasgow in June 1933.
Well, my father was a Regis Professor of Surgery at Glasgow University.
Another photograph showed Einstein and the guest's grandfather smoking on the front doorstep. The appraiser reflected on the personal history of the furniture and the fascinating connections it held. The guest also revealed that they had found place card settings, which were used by her grandparents when they entertained both Einstein and Marie Curie. They were fascinated by the ordinary lives these extraordinary figures had lived. The photographs and furniture were considered valuable as family heirlooms. However, due to the lack of Einstein's signature, the items did not hold any significant monetary value. Despite the low appraisal, the guest noted the item's strong sentimental value to her family. A late Georgian sideboard reflects the craftsmanship, design, and function of the era. Late Georgian sideboards featured neoclassical design with clean lines and geometric forms. These sideboards were rectangular or bow-fronted, reflecting classical ideals from Greece and Rome. The front could be curved or straight, always balanced and symmetrical with minimal decor. Craftsmanship during this period was of an exceptionally high standard.
You can feel on the surface here there's a slight roughness to it, and that happens when all the dirt and the wax and oil is oozing out of the pores, and that's actually not quite nice.
Sideboards were made from mahogany, prized for its strength and durability. Fittings were polished brass or ormolu, featuring classical motifs like urns or rosettes. Its craftsmanship inspired admiration. The appraiser valued the item.
1,800 to 2,500. 2,500. And I really think if you're thinking about insurance value, you've got to be thinking in excess of £4,000. £4,000.
The 18th century English glass with a spiral twist exemplifies Georgian craftsmanship. Air twist glasses, made from the 1740s to 1780s, feature twisted threads by English glassmakers. Glassmakers encased air bubbles or threads in clear glass to create the spiral effect. These glasses were used for wine or spirits and were part of formal dining sets. The glass's tall stem and bowl reflected the era's refined taste for symmetry. Crystal glass became popular for its workability and intricate spiral twist. The spiral twist technique flourished in England, influencing glassware across Europe. Its elegance led the appraiser to value the item.
No, I suppose we're down to 20, 30 quid. Makes a lot of difference.
The football used in the 1911 FA Cup final featured Bradford City versus Newcastle United. This ball symbolises Bradford City's first and only FA Cup win in 1911. The 0-0 draw at Crystal Palace led to a replay, which Bradford City won 1-0 at Old Trafford. The 1911 FA Cup final ball is a leather lace-up artifact typical of its time. This ball was stitched from leather panels, with laces sealing the bladder. The design made the ball heavier when wet, requiring tough yet flexible leather craftsmanship. Bradford City's 1911 FA Cup victory was significant for the young club, founded in 1903. The ball's wear reflects its use in a key game, highlighting the sport's evolution and global attention. Its historical significance led the appraiser to value the item.
Fetch probably in the region of £3,000 to £5,000 at auction.
Oh, the chairman will be pleased.
A rare piece of baseball history featuring Babe Ruth's autograph has sparked significant interest. This page from an autograph book dates back to 1934 and is signed by several American League All-Stars. It was obtained by a 10-year-old girl during an exhibition game in Seattle. Encouraged by her father, she eagerly collected autographs, carefully preserving them in her cherished book. Among the 12 signatures are the legendary Babe Ruth and the iconic Lou Gehrig, the biggest stars of the tour. This historic tour, known as the 1934 Barnstorming Tour, made stops in Vancouver and Japan. Only American League players participated, as the National League declined involvement. One of the tour's most fascinating members, Mo Berg, was not just a player, but also a spy, secretly filming for the US government. The tour served as a form of baseball diplomacy, culminating in a grand parade through the streets of Tokyo. The guest's family preserved a copy of the page, framing it to honor this incredible piece of history. Experts estimate the page's auction value at $10,000 to $15,000. For insurance purposes, its value rises to approximately $20,000. This watch holds more history and heritage than the eye sees. It's a watch that was handed down as a way to honor the sovereign Grand Commander of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite. The watch was given to one of the first African-American Freemasons by members of the Rite in 1876.
William Cooper. He became the Supreme Grand Commander of the Sovereign Grand Council of the ancient and accepted rites of the Scottish Freemasonry.
It was made by the Waltham Watch Company, which was an American interchangeable watch company.
Passed down to my great-great-uncle right here, William Davis, and I think that's the watch fob right there that you can see, and he eventually willed it to my father.
There is an engraving which confirms it belongs to the Freemasonry.
That's correct.
The book is done on the 100th anniversary of this Masonic order.
For a watch that has existed for over 140 years, the irresistible shine is a joy to behold. The shine can be attributed to the 18-karat gold from which the watch is made. Interestingly, the watch is set through the aid of a lever which is pulled at the edge. The watch is an incredible piece of antique history that would definitely be a steal for many watch collectors. Interestingly, it also comes with a gold pencil, gold chain, and gold fob, which are all rare finds. That's why if it were to be auctioned at a watch gallery, it would retail for nothing less than
In the $6,000 to $7,000 price range at auction.
This unusual bowl looks like it was used to cook for kings and emperors. However, it is a carved iron from the lofty Himalayan plateau of Tibet. From a close look at the item, you would notice that it is gilded with gold to beautify it. It also has beautiful dragon motifs, foliage, and flames on the surface for easy identification. Surprisingly, the carved iron piece is from the 16th century and was likely used to house a jade bowl. From the looks of it, this piece was bought by the richest folks at the time since it signified wealth. To craft such a piece as durable as this, it would require the expertise of an excellent craftsman.
And originally had a leather lining, and it contained probably either a porcelain or a jade bowl.
Luckily, the Tibetans are known for their magnificence in crafting beautiful metalworks. Interestingly, some of these bowls are used by the Tibetans to stabilize blood pressure and ease asthma. The history of these beautiful bowls can be traced back to over 2,400 years ago.
In eastern Tibet. And from about the 15th century on, they did this kind of work.
If this beautiful work of art was to be sold at an auction today, it would fetch nothing less than
For this box to sell for about $10,000.
Oh my God.
For sure, this gun looks like any other, but it is quite rare because there are only 263 of it. The gun is called a sharp carbine, and it is a large-bore, single-shot rifle. Sharp carbines were invented in September 12, 1848 by Christian Sharps. However, this one being a special one was invented in 1856. It is a .54 caliber gun, known as a naval gun because it is designed to be used for combat at sea.
As a Sharps slanting breech naval rifle. They're a rare gun.
There is even a small naval anchor at the top of the barrel to confirm its origin. Also, the gun is particularly heavy, but still surprisingly has a way to attach a bayonet to it.
That could be used as a saber, or you could attach it to the end of the gun and be used as a bayonet. But when you put it on there, the weight of it would almost tilt you over. That's one of the neat characteristics of this gun.
Another distinguishing factor that makes this gun so special is the mechanism by which it works.
On the nipple, every time you want to fire it. They made a system developed by Edward Maynard that worked with like a little cap gun roll. And it would feed the roll of caps underneath the hammer every time you cocked it back. And watch this. It still works.
Despite how historically interesting the gun is, the disadvantage is the weight and the shooting distance. Nonetheless, it is still an important piece of naval history, and it would retail at the auction price of
Insure it for at least $7,500.
All right. Well, I guess I better get on that right away.
Before us unfolds a timeless cartographic masterpiece, its weathered visage whispering secrets of a forgotten age. The map originally belonged to our guest's husband, who discovered it during renovations of a London residence.
Wrapped in a newspaper, and it was hidden in a compartment near a fireplace. We very carefully unwrapped it, and then we had it the whole time we were married.
Jane Young's exquisite 1791 map, a snapshot of global discovery and geographical progress, a masterpiece of embroidered cartography. This double hemisphere map shines with meticulous needlework, each stitch a testament to the artisan's skilled hands.
Technically, as a sampler, it's a very accomplished piece. And it's so hard to do embroidery in those tiny, tiny fine lines. There's no ink on this map.
Born into a world where women's roles were often limited, Jane's passion for cartography drove her to excel. She poured her soul into every stitch, rendering continents, oceans, and trade routes with precision.
It's the nicest quality embroidery I've ever seen on a sampler. And that makes me think that it was a sampler that was maybe what we would call the mother map.
Jane's map not only showcased her technical skill, but also reflected her fascination with global exploration. Her work captured the essence of an era marked by discovery and expansion. Contrary to the prevalent use of silk in 18th century cartography, this distinctive world map was crafted with linen. In a commercial context, this exceptional map's value would be estimated at
between $7,500 and $8,500.
Oh, very good.
This chair represents the unorthodox vision of an artist who redefined furniture, blending sculpture with functional design.
My mother found it in my grandmother's house in Dayton, Ohio, back in around the 1960s when they were settling up their estate.
On the back of this chair is a mark featuring an R with a vertical saw. This mark is the maker's signature for the renowned arts and crafts artist Charles Rolfs. Charles Rolfs was an American actor, pattern maker, stove designer, and furniture maker. Charles Rolfs was an unorthodox individual who worked primarily alone, with only a few apprentices in his studio, a rare approach at the time. He created unconventional pieces that pushed the boundaries of the arts and crafts movement. The design of this chair is particularly radical. Another interesting aspect of this chair is that it was conceived as furniture as sculpture. Additionally, it significantly blurs the line between furniture and art.
Captures the essence of the arts and crafts movement, and what it does, it adds a creativity and a sense of beauty and artistic license to arts and crafts.
This chair is made of mahogany, which is an unusual choice for the artist and adds to its uniqueness. Rolf's chairs are rare and highly sought after by collectors in America. At auction, given its provenance, this chair would be worth a conservative estimate of.
This chair is worth between $80,000 and $120,000 at auction.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding.
This guest presents us with a rare collection of books on one of the great leaders of the United States.
I'd really like to know whether this is an authentic signature. I've had the books for a long time.
She purchased these 2 volumes from a bookstore in Corktown, Detroit for only $30.
And when you walked in, it had books floor to ceiling on tables in all the rooms, a couple of cats, and that's when I bought the books.
And what did you pay for them at the time?
$30.
$30.
This collection features the personal memoirs of the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. These books are considered one of the best military autobiographies ever written, covering Grant's experiences in the Mexican-American War, his early life, and the Civil War. Born on April 27, 1822 in Point Pleasant, Ohio, Grant grew up in a modest family and attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, graduating in 1843, ranking 21st in his class. He served in the Mexican-American War and the Civil War in 1861, quickly rising through the ranks due to his exceptional leadership and strategic abilities. Grant was elected as the 18th President of the United States, serving 2 terms. His presidency focused on Reconstruction, civil rights for freed slaves, and economic modernization. He signed the 15th Amendment, which granted African-American men the right to vote. Grant was very popular and financially secure after his presidency until his son led him into a Ponzi scheme, which cost him all of his wealth. This unfortunate turn of events prompted him to write his memoirs, which became highly acclaimed.
He was writing this book and he was sick. He had cancer. He was struggling to finish this book, write it. He worked very hard. He was hoping that it would sell and support him and his wife.
These books were published by the American writer and humorist Mark Twain. The memoirs were published in 2 volumes in 1885, shortly before Grant's death, and have since become regarded as one of the finest examples of military autobiography in American literature. Upon publication, Personal Memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant received widespread acclaim for its insights and narrative style, quickly becoming a bestseller.
I mean, they sold hundreds of thousands of copies, the equivalent of what would have been into the millions of dollars.
While these books bear the signature of the former president, the appraiser disproves this is an original signature, noting that the books were published after Grant's death. They actually feature a facsimile signature that was printed in every copy of the book.
So that sort of answers the question in no uncertain terms. This is a facsimile signature printed in every copy of the book.
This collection is complete and in very good condition, and at a retail shop it would sell for an estimated.
Probably in a retail shop now, this copy would sell for about $350.
Okay.
You have to have both volumes. Okay.
What we have here is a firearm that was given to our guest as a wedding gift by his father. This firearm is identified as a Sharps & Hankins Civil War rifle.
Serial number is located as a 1 there.
Well, let's take a look at that number 1.
The Sharps & Hankins Company was known for producing high-quality firearms, and their firearms are highly sought after by collectors. One major characteristic of this particular rifle is its 32 3/4-inch barrel, which allows for greater accuracy. On the side of the gun, the serial number 1 is inscribed, indicating it was the first model ever made.
This was one of their primary models. They made 8,000 of these guns, but this is the first one.
Another feature of this gun is that it is a .52 caliber, referring to the rifle's bore diameter. The Sharps & Hankins mark is beautifully displayed on the side of this rifle, along with the factory engraving. Furthermore, the barrel of this gun is the longer version, in contrast to later designs featuring shorter barrels. Interestingly, the entire barrel slides forward when loading the cartridge. There is also a safety lever, making it one of the first rifles to incorporate a functioning safety mechanism. Considering that this is the first model from the Sharps & Hankins Company, this rifle will command a price of.
Because it is a unique piece, I feel that the gun today would retail for about $10,000.
This is a fine example of Navajo pictorial weaving. Acquired in the Southwest, the Navajo began creating pictorial weavings in the 1880s when trains started arriving in the region. As automobiles and airplanes appeared, they also began documenting these on their weavings. This piece likely dates to the 1920s and is especially notable because it features an airplane, a U.S. Mail Express biplane which is likely quite rare. Additionally, it includes representations of cattle brands, simulated arrows, and an unidentified shape. Despite its beauty, the weaving does show significant condition issues. If some of the stains were cleaned and the ends restored, its value could reach $8,000 to $12,000. However, in its current condition, it would be valued at approximately.
Because of its condition, it would be worth about $3,000 to $5,000 as is.
What we have here is a Persian rug that the guest acquired from her late husband, who is from Iran. This rug features Rached embroidery, a distinctive form of needlework originating from Rached, a city in northern Iran. It dates back to the Qajar period between 1789 to 1925, a significant era in Iranian history marked by political, cultural, and artistic development. The Qajar era is known for its cultural renaissance and openness to European influence, which sometimes made its way into artistic designs, including rugs. A male figure is embroidered at the center of the rug, though it is uncertain who this figure represents. Surrounding the central figure are floral motifs in a beautiful array of colors. In addition to floral motifs, the Qajar period saw the incorporation of geometric patterns, which are prominently featured in this piece. The designs exhibit a harmonious balance of motifs, reflecting the Persian aesthetic of symmetry. The rug is made of wool, which contributes to its durability and vibrant colors. Rugs from the Qajar era are highly sought after by collectors, and this piece is estimated to be worth.
And this at auction would sell for about $3,500.
Wonderful. That's great.
This isn't just any ring, it's a family treasure passed down with love and a strict rule. It had to be worn. She confirmed to the appraiser that the ring is indeed a diamond. The appraiser noted the ring's platinum setting and a 5.5 carat weight. Though an average color, the diamond's fluorescence adds brightness. Sapphires and diamonds on the side add detail, with a yard hallmark underneath. She was surprised by the Rockefeller's jeweler connection. Prior appraisals valued it in different eras. The appraiser now estimated her ring, leaving her astonished.
$75,000 to $100,000.
No way. Wow, that's kind of exciting.